The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Its fleets were endless, its armies proud, and its flag stretched across hundreds of worlds. Alien races bowed before it, some in fear, some in obedience. None had dared to resist, for long. The Empire believed itself to be eternal, unshakable, and destined to rule the galaxy forever. But then came Earth. To the Empire's High Council, humanity was nothing but a young and untested race. Barely a few centuries in space travel, a single blue planet circling a small yellow sun. No great colonies, no ancient weapons, nothing that seemed dangerous. To the Empire, Earth was like a wild child, a noisy species that talked too much and acted too bold. So the Emperor gave the order, send the fleet, show these humans their place. And so the largest war fleet in generations left the Empire's capital. Dozens of massive battleships, sleek cruisers, and heavy carriers moved like a storm through the void. Their engines burned with light brighter than stars. Their commanders were confident, even laughing as they planned the invasion. "This will be easy," said Admiral Corrin, his voice filled with arrogance. "The humans will kneel before the Empire, they always do. All species kneel eventually. But far away, on the small planet called Earth, the reaction was strange. Humanity did not tremble. Humanity did not panic. Humanity watched. In cities, across the planet, giant screens displayed the news. The alien fleet had crossed into the solar system. Cameras from deep space probes caught images of the massive Armada, rows of ships stretching farther than the eye could see. The sight would have broken the will of most species, but not humanity. Instead, people laughed. On crowded streets, vendors sold popcorn and drinks. Families gathered around televisions. Children wore toy helmets shaped like spaceships. Live streamers shouted excitedly into their microphones, "The Empire has entered Mars orbit. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen." In New York, people filled the stadiums as if waiting for a sports match. In Tokyo, giant neon signs displayed live feeds of alien ships. In London, old veterans shook their heads and grinned. On every continent there was excitement, not fear. The aliens could not understand it. The Empire's spies had reported the strange human reaction. No preparations for surrender, no begging, no mourning. Instead, humans were cheering. "Admiral." Corrin laughed when he heard the reports. "Fools," he said. "They do not understand what is coming." But he was wrong. The humans understood very well. For decades, the Terran Fleet had prepared in silence. They had studied the galaxy, listened to the stories of empires, and watched how the strong bullied the weak. Humanity had learned something the Empire had never understood. Silence could be powerful. If you let others think you are weak, they show you their true arrogance. And when the time comes, you strike. Now, as the alien fleet entered the solar system, Earth's leaders remained calm. In a hidden command center under the surface of the moon, the Terran admirals stood before a glowing star map. The enemy fleet appeared as red icons, slowly approaching Earth. One of the admirals smiled. They brought everything. Good. This way the lesson will be clear. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the crowd continued to celebrate. Some treated it like a holiday, others like a festival. Commentators joked live on air. The Empire says they're the strongest in the galaxy, but can they beat humanity's home advantage? Stay tuned to find out. The world was united, not in fear, but in amusement. For the first time in history, every human eye looked up to the sky with the same expression: curiosity. They wanted to see what would happen when giants walked into their house. Above them, in the cold dark of space, the Empire's fleet closed in. War drums echoed in the minds of alien commanders. Victory felt certain. Yet as the first Terran ships moved out, to meet them something shifted in the air. The human ships looked small, almost fragile compared to the monstrous alien vessels. But there was something in the way they moved. Calm, precise, confident. On Earth, millions of humans leaned forward, eyes wide, as if watching the opening move of a game they had waited years to see. The galaxy thought humanity was weak, but humanity was smiling. Humanity was waiting. Humanity was ready. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. The alien armada glided into the solar system like a tide of steel and fire. Their ships stretched for hundreds of kilometers, bristling with weapons that had conquered 100 worlds. Each vessel carried banners of the Empire, glowing red against the darkness of space. To any other species, it was the image of doom itself. Inside the flagship Eternal Victory, Admiral Corrin stood tall before a wide observation window. His golden armor gleamed under the cold light of the stars. Around him, alien officers moved, with perfect discipline, their scaled hands dancing over glowing controls. Corrin's crimson eyes narrowed as he studied the projection of the solar system. The humans live here? His voice carried the weight of command. One planet, one sun, and a handful of barren rocks. A child's playground. The officers, around him, chuckled in agreement. Primitive, one muttered. Unworthy, said another. They will scream and beg like all the others. Admiral Corrin allowed himself a smile. He had crushed rebellions, shattered fleets, and brought mighty civilizations to their knees. In his mind, humanity was nothing more than another stepping stone, another chapter in his long history of victories. Yet something bothered him. Reports from spies had painted humans as strange. They did not weep when threatened. They did not panic when warned of doom. Instead, they laughed. They gathered to watch, to celebrate. No species had ever welcomed an invasion before. Arrogant fools, Corrin muttered. They mock us because they are blind. But deep inside, a flicker of doubt lingered. Could it be possible that humans were hiding something? He quickly dismissed the thought. After all, the Empire had never been defeated, not once in its long history. The fleet continued its slow march. Cruisers locked into formation, carriers, prepared squadrons in battleships charged their great plasma cannons. Every movement was perfect, every maneuver rehearsed. The Empire prided itself on order and discipline. To them, war was not chaos. War was a performance, a theater of dominance. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, Captain Serac, one of Corrin's lieutenants, laughed as he watched human signals flood the communication channels. Earth's networks were alive with chatter, jokes, bets, and strange human humor. They think this is entertainment, Serac scoffed. They do not realize the storm that is about to fall on them. Another officer nodded. Humans have only a few dozen warships, all small and weak. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. It will not take an hour. The arrogance spread like fire across the fleet. Officers bet among themselves how long it would take to break the Terran line. Some said 20 minutes, others 10. None thought the battle would last longer than the time it took to drink a cup of wine. Admiral Corrin let them laugh. Let them boast. It pleased him to see their confidence, their certainty. He too believed in victory, though for him it was more than arrogance. It was destiny. Remember this, he told his officers, raising his voice so all could hear. When the humans kneel, the galaxy will remember the might of the Empire once more. We will teach them fear. We will remind the stars that there is only one ruler of this galaxy. A cheer rose across the bridge. The words Empire Eternal echoed again and again, a chant of pride and supremacy. But while the Empire sang songs of triumph, Earth remained strangely silent. Human ships drifted quietly in the void, almost relaxed. From a distance, they seemed like insects facing giants, fragile, insignificant, easy to crush. And yet, they did not move like prey. On Earth itself, the contrast was even sharper. Humans filled streets, stadiums, and theaters, watching every move of the alien fleet, as though it were a grand show. Some wore shirts printed with alien warship designs, laughing as if cheering for a sports team. Commentators described every new movement of the Armada. Look at those cannons. Beautiful. But can they hit anything faster than a comet? HFY. Arrogance of the Empire collided with the amusement of humanity, creating a strange tension across the stars. The aliens saw themselves as gods preparing to punish mortals. The humans saw themselves as spectators watching a comedy play out. In the hidden chambers beneath the moon, Terran admirals observed quietly. They did not laugh, but their eyes shone with calm confidence. "Look at them," one admiral whispered. "They are so certain, so proud. They still believe we are weak." Another smiled thinly. "Let them believe. The greater their pride, the greater their fall." Back on the Eternal Victory, Admiral Corrin raised his hand. "Signal the fleet. Prepare for engagement. By dawn on their world, Earth will belong to us." Across the fleet, thousands of alien soldiers cheered. They sharpened blades, powered rifles, and prepared to descend upon humanity. To them, this was not war. This was ritual. This was dominance written in fire. But far below, on Earth, a billion human eyes looked up at the stars. Not with fear, but with patience. Not with tears, but with smiles. And though the Empire believed it was about to crush another species, the truth was far more dangerous. Humanity was not afraid. Humanity was waiting. Humanity was ready. And that, the galaxy would soon learn, was the deadliest secret of all. The Terran Fleet drifted silently at the edge of Earth's orbit. To alien eyes, it looked small, almost fragile. Only a few dozen warships gleamed against the black sky. Compared to the Empire's mighty Armada, humanity seemed like a child facing a giant. That was exactly what the aliens wanted to believe. But humanity knew better. Hidden beneath the calm surface of those ships was technology the galaxy had never seen before. Weapons built not to impress with size but to strike with precision. Engines that bent gravity. Shields that drank enemy fire like water. Artificial intelligence guiding every move with the patience of a chess master. The Terran admirals had no need for arrogance. They had something far more dangerous. Quiet confidence. Deep inside the command center beneath the moon, Admiral Reyes stood before a glowing table of star maps. Red dots marked the Empire's ships, hundreds of them. Blue icons showed the Terran fleet, small, scattered but perfectly positioned. The younger officers were calm. Some even smiled. A strange mood hung in the air. Not tension, not fear, but something lighter. Almost amusement. "Sir," one officer said, "the Empire's fleet is charging weapons." Reyes nodded slowly, as if he had expected this exact moment. "Of course they are. They only know how to roar before they bite." Another officer chuckled. "Do you think they noticed yet?" Reyes looked up. "No. And that is our greatest weapon. Let them think we are weak. Let them believe. They already won. That is when victory becomes easy." On Earth below, the mood was no different. Across cities, people gathered in stadiums and theaters watching the live feeds as if it were a grand show. The aliens thought the humans were blind, that they did not understand the danger, but in truth humanity understood perfectly. They simply weren't afraid. On the streets of Rio, musicians played drums, turning the invasion into a festival. In Moscow, an old general sipped tea, smiling as he watched the broadcasts. "I have seen this before," he muttered. "The arrogant always fall." Children painted pictures of alien warships on sidewalks, while parents placed friendly bets about how long the battle would last. One popular streamer shouted into her microphone, "Will the Empire last 1 hour or 2? Place your bets, my friends." It was madness to the galaxy, but to humanity, it was faith. They had prepared for this day in silence, in shadows, without showing the galaxy their true strength. For decades, while other civilizations fought endless wars, humanity had studied. They learned from every conflict, every fallen empire, every mistake others had made. They did not rush to conquer, they did not shout their power, instead they built in secret. They let the galaxy laugh at their small fleets and simple colonies, and in that silence they grew sharp. Inside one Terran ship, the Valiant, young pilot Kira adjusted her headset. Her fighter sat ready in its hangar, engines humming softly. Around her, other pilots joked, traded snacks, even sang songs. None of them showed fear. "Strange, isn't it?" her wingmate said. They have a fleet 10 times the size of ours, and yet we're the ones laughing. Kira grinned. That's because we know what's coming. Across the solar system, hidden satellites hummed to life. Thousands of tiny machines invisible to the naked eye spread like seeds in the dark. They were humanity's eyes and ears, ready to blind the enemy at the right moment. On Mars, underground bunkers powered up. Weapons the galaxy had never imagined. Gravity lances able to twist space itself into a spear. On the Moon, railguns the size of mountains locked onto distant targets. And in Earth's orbit, the Terran Fleet waited, calm as hunters watching prey walk into the trap. Admiral Reyes leaned closer to the map. The alien fleet advanced, confident and proud. He almost pitied them. They think war is about numbers, he said quietly. They think size wins battles, but they do not understand. War is about patience. War is about precision. And humanity has learned patience better than anyone. Another admiral added with a smirk, and when the time comes, we will show them how fast patience can turn into power. Back on Earth, the mood grew more festive. Broadcasters laughed, children cheered, and old men told stories of human resilience. It was not arrogance. It was trust. Trust in themselves. Trust in their fleet. Trust in humanity's unbreakable spirit. The Empire thought humans were strange for laughing in the face of doom. But to humanity it was simple. Fear changes nothing. Fear is wasted breath. Laughter, on the other hand, sharpens courage. Far above, the alien fleet prepared for war, believing victory was already theirs. But in every human heart burned the same quiet certainty. The Empire did not know what it was about to face. The countdown to battle had begun, and humanity was smiling. The moment finally came. Admiral Corrin stood tall on the bridge of the Eternal. Victory. The solar system stretched before him with Earth glowing blue in the distance. His officers waited, tense but eager. For weeks they had prepared, for hours they had advanced, and now the prey was finally within reach. Target the Terran Fleet, Corrin commanded. His voice was calm, but his crimson eyes burned with arrogance. Show these humans what true power looks like. Across the Empire's fleet, thousands of weapons came alive. Plasma cannons hummed, missiles locked on, and beams of light danced, across ship hulls like restless fire. The void of space trembled with energy. Then, fire. The first volley was a storm. Dozens of battleships unleashed blinding plasma across the void, rivers of light that could melt asteroids into dust. Missiles screamed through the dark, trails glowing behind them like falling stars. The entire fleet fired as one, a display of overwhelming force that had ended civilizations before. Alien officers roared with pride. This is the end of them. But it wasn't. The Terran fleet moved, not with fear, not with desperation, but with precision. Ships that looked small and weak moments ago twisted out of formation, dodging the plasma with unnatural ease. Missiles veered off course, their guidance scrambled by hidden Terran jammers. Where other species would have been annihilated in minutes, humanity danced. On Earth, billions of eyes watched live as the first wave of fire rained down. People gasped, not in fear, but in excitement. Crowds cheered when human ships dodged at the last second, clapping as though watching a daring stunt. In Paris, commentators shouted, "Did you see that? They slipped right past a plasma barrage that should have torn them apart." In Sao Paulo, stadiums erupted as one Terran frigate spun through enemy fire, escaping unharmed. Like a ballet in space, someone whispered. To the Empire, it was the first hint that something was wrong. Captain Serac of the Iron Fang narrowed his eyes as his screens flashed. Their ships, they move faster than sensors can track. That should be impossible. Admiral Corrin clenched his fists. No ship can evade the Empire's fire. Continue the assault. The second volley came, stronger, wider, meant to trap the humans. Yet again, the Terran fleet responded with elegance. A single corvette darted forward, weaving between plasma beams, and fired one shot, just one. The shot was silent, invisible, but its effect was instant. The Empire's dreadnought Bloodfang, a ship that had crushed entire armadas, suddenly froze. Lights across its hull flickered, shields collapsed, and within seconds the massive vessel went dark. Dead. One shot. One kill. The alien bridge erupted in shock. How? On Earth, the reaction was the opposite. Streets exploded with laughter and cheers. People raised glasses, hugged strangers, and shouted at the sky. A popular streamer screamed into her camera, "One hit!" One hit took down a dreadnought. Ladies and gentlemen, are you not entertained? The battle was no longer just survival. It was a performance. And humanity was the star. Admiral Reyes, watching from the Moon Command Center, gave a small nod. "The test worked," he said calmly. "Their shields can't resist our singularity rounds. Good. Very good." Back in space, the Empire grew desperate. More ships opened fire, turning the void into a storm of light. But wherever they aimed, humans were already gone. The Terran Fleet was smaller, yes, but it moved with a grace the Empire had never faced. Every human ship seemed to predict the attack before it came. Inside her fighter, Kira laughed as she pulled sharp turns, dodging fire that should have killed her a dozen times over. "They're too slow," she said into her comms. "They think size means strength, but they can't even touch us," her wingmate replied with a grin in his voice. "Let's give them a show." The fighter wings burst forward, weaving through enemy formations. Swarms of alien interceptors tried to stop them, but the Terran pilots were ghosts. One by one, Empire fighters exploded in bursts of flame, unable to match human reflexes paired with AI guidance. Admiral Corrin slammed his fist against his chair. "Impossible. No species fights like this." But humanity did, and they made it look easy. On Earth, the atmosphere was electric. Cafes turned into watch parties, city squares into arenas. Every successful maneuver drew applause. Every alien explosion drew cheers. Commentators joked that it was less of a war and more of a championship match. One announcer shouted, "The Terran fleet is outnumbered 20-1, but ladies and gentlemen, they are not outplayed." The first clash was ending, and the result was clear. Humanity had not only survived, it had won the opening act. One of the Empire's greatest ships lay dead, and dozens more had been humiliated. But humans were not celebrating victory yet. They were smiling, yes, but it was the smile of hunters who had only just begun. The Empire had thrown its first punch. Humanity had dodged it, laughed, and struck back with precision. Now the galaxy leaned forward, breathless, because if this was only the first clash, what would happen when humanity fought for real? The silence after the first clash was heavier than the roar of battle itself. On the bridge of the eternal victory, Admiral Corrin stood frozen, his crimson eyes locked on the dark, lifeless shape of the dreadnought Bloodfang. A single Terran shot had killed it. Not crippled, not damaged, killed. The ship's power was gone, its lights dark, its weapons useless. A dreadnought was supposed to be unbreakable. A fortress among the stars, yet one human weapon had ended it in seconds. "Check again," Corrin barked, his voice sharp with disbelief. "Scan every system. This must be an error." The officers rushed, claws tapping over glowing consoles. Moments later, the reports came in. "Admiral, it is true. The Bloodfang is gone. Engines offline, core destroyed. No response from the crew." A silence spread across the bridge, broken only by the hiss of machines. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. Fear, the forbidden emotion in the Empire's military, slipped into their eyes. Corrin's jaw tightened. "One ship, that is all. They cannot do it again." But even as he spoke, another Empire cruiser exploded in the distance, its shields torn apart by a pinpoint human strike. The fear grew. On alien channels, panic whispered. Pilots reported weapons failing to lock. Captains shouted that their shields were collapsing without reason. Entire squadrons vanished under invisible attacks. Nothing made sense. "They are using technology we have never seen," one officer gasped. "Not possible," another hissed. The humans are too young. Then explain it. No one could. Across the fleet, the mood shifted from arrogance to doubt. The Empire had faced resistance before, but always with predictable outcomes. Enemies fought bravely, yes, but they still fell. Yet here, in the black void near Earth, something was different. The prey was not running. The prey was not afraid. The prey was laughing, and that laughter carried across the stars. On Earth, the crowds were wild with celebration. Stadiums shook with chants. Families hugged in joy. Streamers screamed into cameras, as if watching a miracle. Did you see that dreadnought fall? Humanity just made history, my friends. This is our moment. In the command center beneath the moon, Admiral Reyes remained calm, his hands clasped behind his back, his face unreadable. Only his eyes betrayed the satisfaction he felt. They are beginning to understand, he said softly. The fear is spreading. An officer beside him smirked. Do you think they will run? Reyes shook his head. No. Their pride won't allow it. They will fight harder, and that will only make their defeat more painful. Back in the stars, Captain Serac of the Iron Fang clenched his fists as he watched another human ship slip through his sensors. It is like chasing shadows, he shouted. His crew scrambled to track the Terran vessels, but they moved like phantoms, weaving through fire as if the battle was a game. Then came the worst moment of all. Human voices broke through the Empire's encrypted channels, calm, almost amused voices. Is this all the Empire can do? One voice asked, crackling across every alien screen. We expected more. A hush fell over the bridge. The humans were taunting them, in their own language, on their own frequencies. Admiral Corrin roared in anger, shut them out. But the damage was done. The seed of fear had been planted. The great Empire, rulers of the stars, was being mocked like children playing at war. On Earth, the taunts were broadcast live. Crowds howled with laughter, repeating the human pilot's words as though it were a catchphrase. Merchants printed shirts within hours. Is this all you've got? The galaxy was watching too. Hidden across distant worlds, countless alien civilizations tuned into human broadcasts, stunned by what they saw. For generations they had feared the Empire. Now they watched as humanity toyed with it. On the bridge of the eternal victory, Corrin slammed his hand against the controls. They are tricksters, illusions, nothing more. But inside he felt it, the cold weight of fear pressing against his pride. If one human shot could kill a dreadnought, what else could they do? Another explosion rocked the fleet. More screams echoed across channels. The Empire was bleeding and the humans had barely broken a sweat. Admiral Reyes's voice echoed calmly through the Terran command. Do not rush. Let them struggle. Let them fear. Fear will do more damage than our weapons. And indeed, fear was spreading faster than plasma fire. Alien captains shouted over each other, some demanding retreat, others demanding stronger attacks. Discipline cracked. The perfect, ordered fleet of the Empire began to splinter. On Earth, the mood only grew, brighter. Crowds danced in the streets. Commentators laughed as if this was the greatest show in history. Humanity was not simply fighting. Humanity was enjoying itself, and that truth, more than any weapon, was what broke the Empire's spirit. For the first time in its long history, the Empire faced an enemy that did not fear it, an enemy that did not tremble before its power, an enemy that laughed, even as plasma storms raged around them, and in that laughter was a message, one the galaxy could not ignore. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. The shockwave of fear had begun. The Empire's fleet wavered in the black sea of space. Once proud, once perfect in formation, now it flickered like a broken mirror. Discipline had begun to crack. Voices of panic filled the comms. Fear spread faster than fire. Admiral Corrin stood rigid on the bridge of the eternal victory, his hands gripping the rail so tightly the metal bent beneath his claws. His crimson eyes burned with fury. The dreadnoughts were falling. The cruisers were stumbling. The humans were laughing, He snarled. Enough of this, crush them! Break their toys and show the galaxy what happens to those who mock the Empire. His officers obeyed. Thousands of alien weapons lit the void again, plasma storms bright enough to blind sensors, missiles like burning rain across the solar system. The Empire's roar shook the stars. But humanity was done playing. On the moon, Admiral Reyes gave a single command. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of thunder. Unleash the Aegis Protocol. In that moment, everything changed. Hidden systems across the solar system powered on. Thousands of satellites thought to be simple comm relays unfolded like mechanical flowers. Their skins shimmered with strange light as energy fields spread outward. The next wave of alien fire hit those shields, then vanished. Plasma collapsed into sparks. Missiles turned to dust mid-flight. The greatest weapons of the Empire were devoured as though they were nothing. Across the alien fleet, panic surged. Our shots! They are gone! They cannot break through! Then humanity struck back. Gravity lances fired from Mars, beams that twisted space itself. Alien ships bent and snapped as if crushed by invisible fists. Railguns on the moon thundered, launching slugs at a fraction of light speed. Each round punched through multiple warships, leaving trails of shattered metal behind, and the Terran Fleet moved in. What had once looked small now seemed terrifying. Human warships surged forward with the precision of blades. Their stealth systems flared to life, vanishing from alien sensors, only to reappear inside firing range. One by one, they fired singularity rounds, collapsing ships into nothingness, with surgical precision. On Earth, the cheers became deafening. Crowds shouted with joy, laughter echoing through city streets. Streamers screamed into microphones. Do you see this? Humanity isn't just fighting back, they're destroying the Empire. In the skies above, human pilots laughed inside their cockpits. Kira, flying her fighter through the chaos, felt alive. Plasma fire missed her by meters, but her AI-guided systems moved her ship like an extension of her body. She pressed the trigger and 3 enemy fighters vanished in a burst of fire. Too slow, she whispered, grinning. The Empire's commanders could not understand. This was not possible. Humanity was supposed to be weak, primitive. Yet here they were, wielding weapons that bent reality, shields that drank plasma, and ships that moved like shadows. Admiral Reyes' voice reached across Terran comms, steady and cold. We warned them not to mistake silence for weakness now. Let them learn. The Terran fleet unleashed its full power. AI swarms, thousands of tiny drones invisible to the naked eye, swept into the Empire's systems. Communications scrambled. Targeting computers failed. Alien officers shouted in confusion as their screens filled with static. Then came the final humiliation. Human broadcasts, live, unfiltered, were projected straight into the alien fleet systems. Every officer, every soldier, every captain saw the same thing. Earth. Cities filled with laughing humans, children waving banners, crowds cheering as if watching a festival. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't just winning. Humanity was enjoying itself. Admiral Corrin slammed his fists into the console. Shut it down! Shut it down! But it was too late. His crew saw the truth in every frame. The humans were not afraid. They never had been. Another explosion rocked the fleet. Another dreadnought fell silent, then another. Entire formations collapsed under invisible strikes. Corrin's voice broke into a roar. Impossible! This cannot be happening. But deep inside, even he knew. The impossible was happening. Humanity, the young species no one had taken seriously, was destroying the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. On Earth, the celebration turned into a frenzy. Fireworks filled skies. People danced in the streets. Broadcasters spoke words that echoed across the galaxy. The Empire has met its match. Humanity rises today. In the Terran Command Center, Admiral Reyes finally allowed himself a small smile. Enough, he said. We've made our point. Leave survivors. Let them crawl back and spread the tale. The Terran fleet pulled back slightly as if to show mercy. The surviving alien ships drifted, broken and humiliated. For the first time in millennia, the Empire was not feared. It was pitied. And in that moment, the galaxy changed, because every civilization watching knew one truth. If this was humanity, showing restraint, then what would happen when they decided not to? The battlefield was silent. Once the Empire's fleet had filled the solar system with fire, thousands of ships, glowing banners, the roar of a power that had ruled for millennia. Now only wreckage drifted through the void. Shattered hulls spun slowly, broken wings of battleships glimmered like dead stars. What remained of the once proud Armada was scattered, limping, humiliated. The Terran Fleet hovered in calm formation. Their ships, smaller and fewer, looked almost untouched. Lights glowed steady on their hulls. They had fought, but they were not weary. They were waiting. Admiral Reyes stood in the command chamber beneath the moon, his hands clasped behind his back. His officers looked at him, awaiting the next order. Victory was certain. The enemy was broken, but Reyes' face was calm, almost solemn. "Pull back," he said quietly. "Let them live. Fear will spread faster than fire." The order echoed across human channels. Pilots slowed their fighters, cruisers ceased their fire, drones returned to their bays. Humanity could have ended the Empire's fleet completely, but they chose not to. Mercy, or perhaps something colder, because mercy mixed with laughter is more terrifying than destruction. On the bridge of the eternal victory, Admiral Corrin staggered to his knees. His armor was cracked, his pride shattered. Officers stood, in silence, their eyes wide, their claws trembling. The screens around them showed only failure. Wrecked ships, failed weapons, and human broadcasts still spilling across their systems. Everywhere they looked, humanity was smiling. Crowds on Earth cheered as though it were a festival. Children painted banners reading, "Better luck next time." Street vendors sold snacks shaped like alien warships. Broadcasters cracked jokes about the Empire's worst performance in history. Corrin felt the weight of those images more than any weapon. His fleet had not just been defeated, it had been mocked, laughed at, reduced to a show for billions of human eyes. "Admiral," one officer whispered, voice trembling, We must retreat." The word was poison in the Empire's language. Retreat was unthinkable. Yet no one objected. Their silence was agreement. Corrin bowed his head. For the first time in his long career, he gave the order. "Fall back." And so the surviving ships turned away, engines sputtering, limping into the dark of space. Not as conquerors, but as beaten dogs fleeing their master's gaze. On Earth, the celebration grew louder. People cheered at the sight of the retreating ships. Commentators laughed. They came to conquer us. Now they run like frightened children. Tokyo fireworks lit the sky. In New York, entire streets erupted into dancing. In Cairo, an old man whispered with pride, "We are not the weak ones anymore." But far beyond Earth, the true impact unfolded. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched. Hidden colonies, oppressed worlds, and long subjugated species tuned into human broadcasts. They saw something they had never thought possible. The Empire defeated, the unbreakable shattered, the eternal humiliated. Whispers spread like wildfire. The humans destroyed them. The Empire isn't invincible. If this is humanity playing, what happens when they fight for real? In distant star systems, rulers trembled. Some feared the Empire's fall. Others dreamed of rebellion. But all agreed on one truth. Humanity was no longer the unknown child of the stars. Humanity was the storm waiting to rise. Inside the Terran Command Center, Admiral Reyes watched the retreating fleet. His officers exchanged smiles, but he remained calm. "Today, we revealed only a fraction," he said. "Enough to teach them fear, enough to remind the galaxy that silence does not mean weakness." One young officer grinned. "Do you think the Empire will come again?" Reyes looked up at the stars, his face unreadable. "Yes, and next time, they will not laugh. Next time they will come with fire and rage. But we will be ready." And the Galaxy will watch again. Back in orbit, human pilots guided their ships home. Kira sat in her fighter, adrenaline fading, a wide smile across her face. That was fun, she said over comms. Her wingmate laughed. Fun? We just destroyed the greatest fleet in history. Exactly, Kira replied. Fun. Her words, spread across comm channels, echoed by streamers on Earth, repeated by laughing crowds. Fun became the symbol of the day. Humanity had not only survived, they had enjoyed themselves doing it. The galaxy would not forget that word. On the bridge of the eternal victory, Admiral Corran sat in silence, his empire's pride broken. He knew the truth now. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not afraid. Humanity was something else entirely, something the galaxy had never faced before. And in that silence, one question burned in his mind, echoing across every corner of the galaxy. If humanity could laugh while destroying the Empire's greatest fleet, what would happen when humanity decided to fight seriously? The thought chilled even the stars.